It was another good tanking loss if you're the Bulls, a game that was fun and competitive against one of the better teams in the league who had their two stars playing in Kawhi Leonard and James Harden to give the young guys some experience going against the veterans. I have to say, this was actually a very fun game to watch, a game that I honestly thought was going to be a blowout and likely a game I would turn off heading into the fourth quarter. But the ball was moving well, guys were getting up and down the court quickly, it was a free flow moving offense, driving to the hoop, kicking it out to the perimeter, guys cutting the basket every which way, and hell, even the Bulls' defensive effort was solid in this game. I know we're probably all getting sick of using this term, but that was some fun bad, because look, at the end of the day, we know this team isn't that good. We know they're not winning anything this season. We know they aren't even making it to the playoffs, but unlike what we saw last season, which was a lot of frustration and oftentimes boring, stagnant basketball, these guys know how to keep up the pace, keep up the energy, and what I really appreciate about this one in particular was the hustle and effort that they displayed on the floor, and that really starts with Josh Giddey. Now, Giddey, even for his flaws and his struggles at the beginning of the season, even then I always said I appreciated his hustle. I appreciated the fact that he plays hard, fights for loose balls, and isn't afraid to get hurt. Like, I feel like that's a dying breed in the NBA these days, where you have guys that will put it all out there on the floor regardless of where things are at in the game. And to me, that type of energy is infectious, and the guys want to match that level of play. Same can be said about Lonzo Ball, who plays with that edge and grit that the players feed off of. But Josh Giddey, man, I mean, he's been on another level in terms of his play this month, because what was once being labeled as a player and an inefficient scorer who can't shoot threes is now putting up some insane shooting splits, particularly from the three-point line. He went 3 for 3 from deep in the game against the Sixers the other night. Tonight he goes 4 for 4. In the month of February, so over the last 10 games anyway, he's shooting over 60% from 3. Like, Peter Patton must be putting in overtime with this guy, because whatever he's doing is working. But it wasn't just the 21 points on 8 for 14 from the field for Josh Giddey, it was also the 12 assists, 8 rebounds, just shy of that triple-double. But with the 20-point double-double in this game, he made it his 4th straight game doing so, putting up that stat line, making him just the 3rd guard in franchise history to do that, along with Clem Haskins and, of course, you guessed it, Michael Jordan. I put out a video on Josh Giddey earlier today, so feel free to check it out in case you missed it, but in that I talk about the decision the Bulls are going to have to make in his impending restricted free agency, and whether they're eventually going to have to choose between him and Coby White for the future. Coby White actually had a better game in this one. I mean, he was still minus 15, so it still wasn't great, but better shooting wise than we've seen as of late from him. 7 for 16 overall, 4 for 11 from 3, 19 points. He also had some crafty moves using his ball handling to get to the hoop, and then how about that throwdown on Zubac in that first half? That's a candidate for dunk of the year for the Bulls anyway, when he rose up and still finished it despite Zubac getting a piece of the ball. Or maybe, actually wait, was it Eubanks that he dunked on? Was it Eubanks? Either way, an incredible throwdown, and it was good to see Coby White have a bit of a bounce back game after being in a bit of a slump. But hey, the big storyline here in this game has to be Zach Collins, and what I'll say is this: Vucevic has missed the last 2 games. And you would have thought, well, now the Bulls lose their offensive hub in the post, who is great at passing and posting up. These past 2 games, the Bulls have looked their best all season in terms of their cutting ability and player movement, and a lot of that has to do with Zach Collins, his ability to cut, move quicker in the pick and roll. I mean, the offense just looks much more fluid, and I know it's only been 2 games, and I'm not going to straight up attribute that to Vucevic, because Vuce is still a better player than Zach Collins, but there is something to be said about how the offense moves when they have a more mobile center in the middle. Zach Collins had a season high in points tonight with 21 points, a career high 17 rebounds, yes, 17 rebounds, and also a season high 7 assists. Man played 38 minutes in this game. He was pretty much out there the whole time. Sometimes, guys just need the opportunity to play. Sometimes they need a new environment, and he's making the most of this opportunity with Vucevic and Jalen Smith being out. And feel crazy saying this, but now kind of reminding us why he was given that big contract in the first place from the Spurs. So shout out to Zach Collins for stepping up and having his best game on the season. Lonzo Ball, much better game for him offensively, 15 points, 6 for 10 shooting, of course, always bringing his effort and energy on the defensive end and knowing where to be at all times. And then how about Trey Jones off the bench tonight? I like this dude because he's another one of these players that will give you effort, and he plays fast, smart. Tonight he put up 16 points in 18 minutes and was in during crunch time to try to get the win. I mean, that's also turning into what could be another interesting decision the Bulls will have to make this summer, as he's going to be a free agent as well. While I wouldn't mind extending him, you also have to realize the Bulls have so many guards as it is, and it likely doesn't make sense to keep him around long term. Modest Buzelis struggled in this one. He had a few nice plays, but overall struggled to finish. Not the best shot selection at times as well, but I can live with it because, like I said before, this is how he learns. I would much rather him learn from his mistakes in a season that doesn't mean much than to have him just sit on the bench for most of the game. I was actually a little disappointed he didn't play in crunch time, because that would have been a perfect opportunity for him to play in a big moment like that. But at the same time, yeah, I also get it. Billy Donovan is still trying to win, and he was going to go with the best guys, the best matchups to put the team in the best position to win. I get it, but still would have preferred to see Modest Buzelis out there. Man, the Bulls hit 19 threes in this game. It's still wild that they've been able to keep this up throughout the season when they were one of the lowest three-point shooting teams in the league for the past 3 seasons. But the Bulls are off until Friday before they take on the Toronto Raptors, which is another interesting game from a tanking perspective, with the Raptors being behind the Bulls by 5 games, which I guess is probably a pretty big gap considering the number of games that we have left in the season. But who knows, they've got Brandon Ingram now, so they might inch their way up into the standings. Anyway, let me know what you guys thought of the game tonight. Let me know in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.